And then you look at education. Right now in America, only 31% of 8th graders are proficient in reading. Think about that. Only 27% of 8th graders in our country are proficient in math. If we don't do something and do something quick, we're going to be in a world of hurt 10 years from now. In South Carolina, we knew if a child couldn't read by 3rd grade, they were 4 times less likely to graduate high school. So we together, instead of pushing them forward, we started holding them back. We brought in their parents. We did reading remediation, and we set them up for success. We've got to do that across this country. We have got to get our kids reading again. And no parent should ever wonder what's being said or taught to their child in the classroom. We need complete transparency in the classroom. As parents, we have one job, and that's to make sure that we do right by our kids. And that's why every parent should be able to decide which school their child goes to or what mode of education they get. Parents know best what their kids need. And then let's start building things in America again. Let's put vocational classes back in our high schools. Let's get our kids working and invested even before they get out of school. And then a point of personal privilege. We love our boys, but this goes to all you girl dads out there and all you strong moms. We have to raise strong girls. Strong girls become strong women become strong leaders. And none of that happens if we have biological boys playing in girls' sports. We've got to cut that out. And then when it comes to the border, it doesn't even look like the United States of America anymore. I can't believe we're allowing this to happen. And you know, I've been to the border, and I didn't pull a Kamala, go and come back. I went 400 miles down that border. You're not ready for what I saw. Mounds of clothes, mounds of shoes, paraphernalia, rape areas that the women and girls have to walk through. When you get up in the morning, you get your coffee and you watch the news. When these ranchers get up in the morning, they get their coffee and they go see if anybody died crossing the fence. They pick up whatever little kids were left behind and turn them over to Border Patrol. I met with multiple sheriffs. They said before 7 a.m., they round up whatever illegal immigrants they can find, turn them over to Border Patrol. Border Patrol documents them and releases them until their court date years from now. And when I asked Border Patrol about their job, they said, want to know what we do? We're glorified babysitters. They don't let us do our job. 8.5 million illegal immigrants have crossed that border. We had enough fentanyl cross the border last year that would kill every single American. Number one cause of death for adults 18 to 45, fentanyl. And don't think for a second China doesn't know what they're doing when they send it over. It is time, no more excuses, that we get our border straight. Now, when I was governor, we passed the toughest illegal immigration law in the country. President Obama sued us over it, and we won. We need to take what we did in South Carolina and go national with it. We will do a national E-Verify program and require every business prove that the people they hire are in this country legally. We will defund sanctuary cities once and for all. No more safe havens in America. We'll put 25,000 Border Patrol and ICE agents on the ground and let them do their job. And we will go back to the Remain in Mexico policy so that no one even steps foot on U.S. soil. And instead of catch and release, we'll go to catch and deport. That is how we will finally secure the border. And when I grew up in Bamberg, South Carolina, my parents always taught us that you take care of those who take care of you. But I'm going to ask you if we're taking care of those who take care of us. Right now in America, over 35,000 of our veterans are homeless. 1 in 3 suffers from PTSD or thoughts of suicide. We lose 22 heroes a day to suicide. If a veteran needs a doctor's appointment at the VA, on average, takes 29 days. Why 29 days? Because on the 30th day, they get to go to the doctor or hospital of their choice. So midway through the 29 days, they get a call to reschedule, and the clock starts all over again. It's shameful how we treat our veterans. Now, I am the proud wife of a combat veteran. He served in Afghanistan. And the day he came home to us, that was a lot of prayers answered. But that was the easy part. When we got home, life got hard. Michael couldn't hear loud noises. He couldn't be in crowds. Life had passed him by for the year that he was gone, and the transition was tough. We can't just love our men and women when they're gone. We got to love them when they come back home, too. You can't just transition them for 2 weeks and send them on their way. We've got to take care of them for the long haul. That's why I want to make sure we do telehealth so they get the mental health care they need right when they need it. They should be able to go to the doctor or hospital of their choice. They've earned that right. And I think the best way we deal with the VA, I think every member of Congress should have to get their health care from the VA, and you watch how fast that gets fixed. It'll be the best health care you've ever seen, guaranteed. We will take care of our veterans. And you know, there were 2 things when I was at the United Nations that Russia, China, and Iran never wanted us to have. They never wanted us to have a strong military, and they never wanted us to be energy independent. We won't be energy independent. We'll be energy dominant. We will get the EPA out of the way once and for all. Right now, the EPA cares more about sagebrush lizards than they do about whether we can afford our utility bill. We will speed up the permitting. We will open up our pipelines, including the Keystone Pipeline. We will say no to Joe Biden stopping exporting liquefied gas, and we will make sure we export as much liquefied natural gas as possible. We will do nuclear power. We will do all of the above. The goal is we don't want to go hat in hand to Saudi Arabia. No more getting dirty oil from Iran and Venezuela. Let's turn our energy sector not in just enough to take care of America. Let's turn it into the economic powerhouse we know it can be to pay down our debt and to reduce inflation. We can get that done. Now let's talk about national security. The world is on fire. Literally. You've got a war in Europe. You've got a war in the Middle East. You've got North Korea testing intercontinental ballistic missiles capable of hitting the U.S. You've got China on the march. But make no mistake, none of that would have happened had we not had that debacle in Afghanistan. The idea that Michael and his military brothers and sisters who served there had to watch us leave Bagram Air Force Base in the middle of the night without telling our allies who stood shoulder to shoulder with us for decades because we asked them to be there. Think about what that said to our friends. More importantly, think about what that said to our enemies. We need to start telling our enemies what we expect of them and stop being reactionary. You look at these 160 strikes that have happened on our men and women overseas. Why did that happen? You won't hear Biden talk about what he did because we had decimated. When I was at the UN, we passed the largest set of sanctions. We decimated the Iran deal. We pulled out of it. We made sure that we emptied their coffers. They had no cash. There would be no Hamas without Iran. There'd be no Hezbollah without Iran. There wouldn't be the Houthis without Iran. There wouldn't be these proxies in Iraq and Syria or the ones that hit those military men and women in Jordan without Iran. And what did Biden do? He lifted the sanctions. and allowed China to start exporting as much oil as possible and filled their coffers to do all of this, to do what they did in Israel, to do what they're doing in Iraq and Syria, to do what they're doing from Hezbollah in Lebanon, all of that because Joe Biden did that. And then he just continued to be weak. When have we ever let men and women sit there and take strikes like that and do nothing to stop it? He's done nothing. He's got to put the sanctions back on. He's got to stop trying to get back into an Iran deal that doesn't help us. And he's got to start making sure that we show American strength. That's the only way we will get that done. None of us want new wars. None of us want new wars.
Where's your money coming from? Read Hoffman or LinkedIn. We know where your money's coming from, Nikki. We know. And we're sick of the wars. We want America first. We're sick of it. We're done.
You know, don't be offended by that, because my husband and every military member sacrifices every day for his right to do that. So let's talk about our biggest national security threat, China. China's been planning war with the United States for years. And that's not an exaggeration. They're already here. They've already infiltrated our country. They've bought 400,000 acres of U.S. soil, most recently near Grand Forks Air Force Base, where our most sensitive drone technology is. They put millions of dollars into our universities, stealing our research, spreading Chinese propaganda. Everybody got upset with the Chinese spy balloon, right? China said it was a weather balloon, and Biden believed it. Look, we have beautiful beaches, but that is not why China sent that spy balloon. It's because we are a strong military state. And now we know it connected with a U.S. internet company and took all that surveillance and sent it over to China. But what about the fact that 90% of our law enforcement drones are Chinese? Think about the mini surveillance that's happening. There's technologies that China wants because it builds up their military and it threatens America. And the Biden administration approved 70% of those requests last year. The Trump administration approved even more than that. And then you look at the fact we've had more Americans die of fentanyl than the Iraq, Afghanistan, and Vietnam wars combined. 75,000 Americans last year alone. There are Chinese police stations throughout our country. There's a Chinese spy base that's going off our shores in Cuba. And China's now building up their military at a scary pace. They have 500 nuclear warheads. That's 100 more than they had last year. They have the largest naval fleet in the world. They have 370 ships. They'll have 400 ships in 2 years. We won't even have 350 ships in 2 decades. They're doing artificial intelligence. They're doing space. They're doing cyber. They've developed hypersonic missiles. We've barely gotten started. And now China's the lead developer on neurostrike weapons. Weapons engineered to change the brain activity of military commanders and segments of the population. That's who we're dealing with. So when Biden tells you that China's a competitor, I dealt with China every single day at the United Nations. They never saw us as a competitor. They always saw us as an enemy. We've got to start looking at them the way they look at us. So how do we deal with China? The first thing we do is stop selling any U.S. soil and take back the land they've already purchased. We go to our universities and we say, you either take foreign money or you take American money, but the days of taking both are over, and we get that Chinese infiltration out of our schools. We blacklist all technologies that build up their military, and we tell them that we're going to end all normal trade relations with them until they stop murdering Americans with fentanyl. You watch how fast they move because they need our economy. And then we will build up a strong military. Strong militaries don't start wars. Strong militaries prevent wars. And that doesn't mean... Y'all, don't let it bother you. That's what Trump does. He does disruption. That's the only way he thinks he can win, is by planning people like this. I think we're getting under his skin. Just saying, I don't know. When I talk about building up a strong military, that doesn't mean throwing more money at the Department of Defense. It means cleaning it up, getting rid of the red tape, getting rid of the bureaucracy, stop playing favorites with defense contractors. And more than that, making sure that we focus on what really matters. They are focused on so many more programs that they have no business being involved in. For goodness sake, they have got to stop these gender pronoun classes. It's demoralizing our military. And our focus should be on to modernize the military. We have too many generals focused on wars of the past. They're thinking land, air, and sea. What we need to be focused on is artificial intelligence, cyber, space, hypersonic missiles, submarines. That is what we need to be focused on. We will get that back on track. And once our enemies know that we're strong, what the gentleman didn't realize there is the last thing you want as a military spouse is for your loved one to go to war. Our goal is to prevent war. It has always been about preventing war. So we know what we need to do domestically, and we know what we need to do from a national security perspective. But in order to do that, we've got to acknowledge some hard truths. Republicans have lost the last 7 out of 8 popular votes for president. That is nothing to be proud of. We should want to win the majority of Americans. And the only way we'll win a majority of Americans is if we elect a new generational conservative leader. We need to leave the negativity and the baggage behind and focus on the solutions of the future. Another hard truth. I voted for Donald Trump twice. I was proud to serve America in his administration. The problem is chaos follows him. You know I'm right. Chaos follows him. And we can't be a country in disarray and a world on fire and go through 4 more years of chaos. We will not survive it. And you know what should send a chill up of everybody's? You know what should send a chill up every person's spine? The thought of a President Kamala Harris. If you look at every general election poll, head to head, it's going to be another nail-biter of an election. Trump and Biden are like this. On a good day, he might be up by 2. That's margin of error. You look at those same general election polls, I defeat Biden by up to 17 points. That's bigger than the presidency. That's House, that's Senate, that's governorships, all the way down to school board. But think about that. You win with a double-digit win in D.C. That's a mandate to stop the wasteful spending and get our economy back on track. That's a mandate to get our kids reading again and go back to the basics in education. That's a mandate to secure our borders with no more excuses. That's a mandate to bring law and order back to our country. And that's a mandate for a strong America we can all be proud of. Don't you want that? 6 months ago, I dropped my husband Michael off at 4 a.m. for another year-long deployment. And I watched him and 230 soldiers pick up their 2 duffel bags of belongings to go to a country they'd never been, all in the name of protecting America. They're willing to sacrifice their lives and their families because they still believe in this amazing experiment that is America. So if they're willing to sacrifice for us there, shouldn't we be willing to fight for America here? Because we have a country to save. But if we're going to save her, it's going to take a lot of courage. Courage from every single person here. Courage for me to run. And courage for every one of you to know, don't complain about what happens in a general election if you don't go and vote in this primary. It matters. Think for a second about what we did together in South Carolina. We came in with an 11% unemployment. We had thousands of people on welfare, and South Carolina was the butt of the jokes. And by the time we left, we were building planes with Boeing. We were building more BMWs than any place in the world. We brought in Mercedes-Benz. We brought in Volvo, 5 international tire companies. They were referring to us as the beast of the Southeast, which I still love. We dropped that 11% unemployment down to 4%. We moved 35,000 people from welfare to work. We said if you've got to show picture ID to buy Sudafed, you've got to show picture ID to get on a plane, you should have to show picture ID to protect the integrity of the election process. We passed voter ID in South Carolina. We passed tort reform. We passed pension reform. We cut taxes. But more than that, by the time I left, South Carolina was named the friendliest state in the country, the most patriotic state in the country. And don't blame me for this one, the number 2 state in the country that people were moving to. So if we could have those wins in South Carolina, do you know what we could do in America? Do you know how we could become so patriotic and so much of a powerhouse that we go and show the entire world that not only is America back, but America's strong? You know, when I announced, they asked me why I was running. And I said, my parents came here 50 years ago to an America that was strong and proud and full of opportunities. I want them to know that country again. I'm doing this for my husband, Michael, and his military brothers and sisters. They need to know their sacrifice matters. They need to know that we love our country. I'm doing this for my daughter, who just got married, and I saw how hard it was for her and her husband to buy a home. The average home buyer in America now is 49 years old. The American dream is leaving them. And I'm doing this for my son, who's a senior in college, and I am tired of watching him write papers of things he doesn't believe in just to get an A. That's not us. That's not America. And for the first time, 81% of Americans don't think their kids are going to live as good of a life as we did. We can't be okay with that. I'm not okay with that. We do have a country to save. But I'll promise you this. If you'll leave here and pick up a yard sign on your way out, if you'll go tell 10 people that it's important that they either go early vote February 12th or they go vote in the primary February 24th and take 10 friends with you, I promise you what I promised you when I became governor. I will spend every minute I'm in office focused on making you proud. Let's do this. Let's do it together. Thank you so much. God bless you.